Okay, so bridal shop, Mexico. There's a mannequin in the window that people genuinely cannot stop staring at. Not in a cute display way. In a wait, is that actually a person way? At night, near the water, people say you might hear a woman crying for her children. There's a real island in Mexico City's canals. You can literally go there right now. That's completely covered in old broken dolls. Hospital patients talk about a nurse who helped them through the night, except no nurse like that was ever on shift. And on empty roads after dark, a man in black might pull up and offer you a ride. Don't take the ride. That's the whole warning, just don't. So yeah, today we are going deep into Mexico's nightmare folder, and I'm very glad you are here for this. 5 legends, 5 completely different kinds of fear. Let's start with the one that managed to make bridal shops uncomfortable forever. La Pascualita. There's a bridal shop called La Popular in Chihuahua, Mexico, and the rumor attached to it is one of the best nightmare premises I've ever heard, because it's so simple. People say the mannequin in the window is actually a preserved human body. Already, no, I don't want to look at mannequins as it is. Now we are adding the possibility that one of them has a death certificate? The legend goes back to the 1930s. A young bride dies right before her wedding, depending on who's telling it. She was bitten by a black widow spider or a scorpion, versions differ. Her mother, who apparently owned the shop, was so completely destroyed by grief that she had her daughter embalmed, dressed her in a wedding gown, and put her in the window. To be totally clear, no one has proven this. There's no confirmed evidence that La Pascualita is a real body. But people kept repeating it anyway because she doesn't look like plastic. Her hands, that's what people always come back to. The fingers, the veins, the texture of the skin, the nails, her eyes, her face. She doesn't look like plastic. She looks like someone who would at any moment shift her weight slightly and just glance over at you. And the stories keep stacking. She changes position at night. Her eyes follow you when you walk past. Some people say she blinks, like actually blinks. And then there's this specific detail that shows up in a few versions where taxi drivers claim to see her moving around after dark, which connects to a version of the story where her fiancé was a taxi driver and apparently grief hit him differently than most people. So, we've got a dead bride, a grieving mother, a wedding dress, a shop window anyone can walk past, taxi drivers seeing things after dark. I mean, Mexico said you want a creepy legend and then added 6 more layers just to be safe. What bothers me most is how visible she is. She's not locked away somewhere. She's in a shop window on a regular street. People walk past, take pictures, stare at her hands and walk away without a definite answer. That uncertainty is the whole thing. You don't have to fully believe the story. You just have to look at her for slightly too long and think, wait, why does she look like that? She was even brought to Mexico City for an event in 2017, so this is not some fading local whisper. People still specifically go to see her. People still argue about what she is. And I get it completely. If she looked literally fake, the legend dies instantly. Boring, next. But if she looks real enough to make you uncomfortable, that story survives. Real question. You are walking past bridal shop at night, she's in the window. Do you look closer? I want to say no. I would absolutely be pressed against that glass examining her hands like I'm trying to solve a case. Okay, from a bride behind glass we go to a woman you hear before you ever see her. La Llorona, the weeping woman. This is probably the most well-known legend in this whole video, not just in Mexico but across Latin America and at this point across the entire internet. If you grew up in a certain households or certain regions, you already know this story, and you probably still feel something when you hear her name. The version most people know. A woman named Maria loses her children, or in some of the darker versions, she's the one who drowns them, after betrayal or rage or complete despair. Then she realizes what she's done, and she's cursed. She wanders near water forever crying for them. Ay, mis hijos, oh my children. That line, that one line, it's so simple and it's so awful. Because here's the thing about La Llorona. The fear doesn't start with something you see, it starts with a sound. A woman crying near water at night, a river, a canal, a lake, something close and dark, and the sound feels like it's coming from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The warning is always very specific. Do not follow it. In a lot of versions, she's not only crying for her children, she might take others. That's why so many people grew up hearing this story as a direct warning. Don't go near water at night. Don't wander alone. Don't follow a voice just because it sounds sad. And I hate how effective that is, because a cry is the worst possible sound to hear and be told to ignore. If you hear something growl in the dark, easy, you leave. Survival instincts kick in, good job. But a woman crying, your brain goes, oh, wait. Someone might need help. Should I check? Is someone hurt? That's the trap. That's exactly the trap. La Llorona also has roots that go way deeper than one ghost story. A lot of people connect her to older pre-Hispanic figures, including Cihuacuatl among the Nahua people, and there are stories of a wailing woman appearing as an omen before disaster long before the version we know now. So depending on who's telling it, she can be a ghost, a grieving mother, a warning, a symbol of guilt, or something much older that got layered over the story people recognize today. That's why she feels so massive. She holds multiple things at once. Terror, tragedy, warning, motherhood, guilt, all at one sound near water. She's everywhere in pop culture now. Films, songs, Halloween events. There are even versions tied specifically to Xochimilco, which we are about to get to, and the canal setting makes it feel like it was designed to haunt that exact place. But the scariest version is still the simplest one. You are outside at night. You hear a woman crying near water. You haven't seen her, just a sound. And part of you wants to know where it's coming from. That's where I stop. I've covered enough of these stories to know that I just want to check is how people make very bad decisions. If I hear "Ay, mis hijos" near a river at night, I'm leaving. Whatever I'm holding, I'm dropping it. My bags, my keys, my dignity. The river can keep all of it. I'm not negotiating. Okay, from a woman crying near water, we move to an actual, real, physical place in the water. And this one barely needs legend to be unsettling, the visual alone is enough. Isla de las Muñecas, the island of the dolls. This is a real place in Xochimilco in the canal south of Mexico City. Xochimilco is actually a beautiful, colorful trachineras, these decorated wooden boats, moving through canals lined with chinampas, ancient floating garden islands. It's busy, vibrant, there's food and music, it feels very alive. And then there is this island covered in dolls. Old dolls, broken dolls, dolls hanging from trees, dolls missing their eyes, dolls with cracked faces baked in the sun for years, dolls with dirty dresses just hanging there, staring at the canal. Dolls already exist in a weird space between cute and deeply uncomfortable. Hang hundreds of them from trees on a canal island, and you've created something that genuinely should not exist. The story centers around a man named Don Julian Santana Barrera. The legend says he found a drowned girl near the island, or he failed to save her. Later he found a doll floating in the water and believed it had belonged to her. So he hung it from a tree as an offering, a memory or protection. And then he kept going. More dolls, more trees, more faces looking out at the water. Some versions say he started hearing things, whispers, footsteps, crying. Some accounts say he believed the girl's spirit was still there, and the dolls were the only thing keeping things manageable. So he kept collecting. People brought him dolls, he found them. The island kept filling up. Here's what makes this genuinely unsettling rather than just visually strange. Don Julian was real. The island is real. The dolls are real. You can take a boat there right now. But a drowned girl at the center of it has never been clearly confirmed. So you have a completely real, visitable place built around something that may not have happened the way he said it did. That gap is where the creepiness lives. Because even if the story shifted over time, even if the details blurred, something made this man hang dolls in trees for years. Something kept him there, alone, collecting them. And whatever that was, the dolls are the evidence it left behind. Don Julian died in 2001. He was found in the canal near the same spot connected to the girl from the legend. The reported cause was heart failure, but of course the location is what people grabbed onto and ran with. Because if you spent decades hanging dolls for a spirit and you die in the canal next to them, nobody is letting the detail go quietly. Today you can visit by boat. Some people bring more dolls and leave them as offerings. Visitors say the dolls move, turn their heads, open their eyes, follow you as the boat passes. Do I think every doll is actually moving? No. Would I spend a night there to prove it? Absolutely not. I have nothing to prove to an island full of haunted dolls. In 2022, Guinness World Records officially recognized it as the place with the largest collection of haunted dolls, which is such a sentence to exist. Imagine your world record category being most haunted dolls. Iconic, completely horrifying, both at the same time. For me, it's not even about whether the dolls are haunted, but what the whole place represents. One doll is a memory. 10 dolls is strange. Hundreds of dolls in trees collected over years on an island you lived on alone. That's not decoration, that's obsession. That's someone trying to answer something that kept asking. And once you know that, the dolls don't look like toys, they look like proof. From an island full of dolls, we go inside, specifically into a hospital hallway late at night. And this one hits completely differently because the fear has a different shape. La Planchada, the ironed one. Named that because she appears in a perfectly pressed white nurse's uniform, not a wrinkle anywhere. She's one of the Mexico's most famous hospital ghosts, connected most often to Mexico City and Hospital Juarez specifically. And here's the thing that makes her such a strange legend. She's not hostile. In most versions, she helps. Sit with it for a second. You are in a hospital, sick, scared. It's the middle of the night. Everything is dim and quiet except for machines beeping and distant footsteps in the hallway. A nurse comes in, clean white uniform, perfectly neat, not a hair out of place. She checks on you, adjusts your blanket, takes your vitals, says something calm and reassuring. You feel better, safer. Then in the morning you mention her to the staff. And they tell you no nurse like that was working last night. I'm sorry, can everyone come back into this room for a moment? What do you mean no one like that was working? Her name in most version is Eulalia. She was a dedicated professional nurse and always perfectly put together, strict about it actually, hence the nickname. Then she falls in love with a doctor, and depending on which version you are hearing, he betrays her, leaves her, or marries someone else. Either way, she completely falls apart. Some versions say grief hit her so hard she started neglecting patients. Then the guilt of that destroyed what was left. She dies, and she comes back to hospitals, to night shifts, to people who need help. Like she's trying to fix what she broke in life, trying to be the nurse she stopped being. And that makes her story weirdly uncomfortably emotional. Like, she's terrifying because she shouldn't be there, but she's also trying to make amends. You feel scared of her, and then you feel kind of sorry for her, and then you feel scared again because she is still a ghost who is in your hospital room. I genuinely don't know what the correct response is if a ghost nurse adjusts your pillow. Do I say thank you? Do I pretend to be asleep? Do I start asking follow-up questions I'm not sure I want answered? Stories like this have circulated around hospitals in Mexico City for decades. A nurse in white, late at night, sometimes described with a faint antiseptic smell, appearing when everything is quiet, helping, not appearing on any schedule. There are rational explanations. Hospitals are disorienting, patients are often medicated or half asleep, staff work long hours and shifts blur together. All of that is true, but hospitals are also one of the easiest places in the world to believe in something you can't explain. People are vulnerable there, waiting, scared. Every sound and every presence means something. So when a story about a nurse who shows up exactly when someone needs help and then vanishes from every record gets told across decades and cities, it's not just people being confused. It sticks because the fear is so quiet. She doesn't appear suddenly, she doesn't make noise, she just shows up, does her job and leaves. A ghost with a good bedside manner is still a ghost. I want it written on a sign somewhere. And this legend leaves me with a question I really don't want to sit with too long. If you were alone in a hospital at 3 a.m., would you rather be ignored by the living or helped by the dead? I hate that I don't have a clean answer to that. Last one. Empty road, night, a man in black on a black horse who you should absolutely not accept any kind of help from. El Charro Negro. Tall man, dressed all in black, white-brimmed hat, riding a black horse. He appears at night on lonely roads. In most versions, he's connected to the devil, temptation, deals, greed, consequences you don't understand until it's way too late. Forget a man. The offer is what gets you. He might offer right, money, safety, a way out of something. He's calm, well-dressed. He looks like help arriving exactly when you need it most. But under every version of this story is the same feeling. Do not say yes to what he's giving you. Because if the devil showed up looking monstrous and terrifying, that's easy. You run, clear decision, survival. But if he shows up polished and polite, exactly when you are exhausted or broke or lost or desperate, that's so much more dangerous. That version can actually get into your head. There's a reason the charro image matters here. Charros are tied to Mexican horsemanship tradition, skilled riders, formal attire, a certain kind of controlled power and pride. El Charro Negro takes all of that and makes it the costume for something much worse, something familiar twisted into a warning. He appears differently across versions. The devil himself, a cursed man, a spirit that specifically punishes greed. And like all the best Mexican legends, he carries Catholic imagery, older folk fears, and very human psychology all at once. The fear of roads at night, the fear of strangers, the fear of wanting something so badly that you stop asking why someone's offering it. The setup is perfect. Empty road, dark air, hooves before you see anything. Then a black horse steps out and the rider asks where you are going. That's the moment the story holds its breath. Do you answer? Do you take the ride? Do you accept what he's offering? Because in this kind of story, the first yes is already most of the problem. He's still very much alive in pop culture. There's even an animated film, La Leyenda del Charro Negro. So he's not some old road rumor that quietly faded out. He keeps getting retold because the fear is personal in a way the other legends aren't. A haunted island is creepy, a crying woman near water is terrifying, a mannequin that might be a body is deeply uncomfortable. But El Charro Negro asks you something about yourself. What would actually make you say yes to something that felt wrong? How tired would you have to be? How desperate? How lost? Late at night alone, when someone offers you help, you don't always know if it's rescue or a trap until you've already made a decision. And that's why the road legends like this one never really die. Okay, 5 legends, 5 completely different shapes of fear. What I actually love about these is how they each get to you differently. The mannequin you stare at a few seconds too long. The crying you want to follow but know you shouldn't. The doll that maybe moved, maybe it was just the wind. The nurse you are weirdly grateful for even thought you know you shouldn't be. The man on the road with an offer that sounds too convenient. Personally, La Llorona still wins for me. I know the island of the dolls looks worse visually. I know La Pascualita has a very specific kind of wrongness to it. But a woman crying near water at night, that's the one that would actually burrow into my head. Because a cry makes you want to check. And in this story, checking is always the mistake. So, which one got to you? Tell me in the comments and tell me which country you want me to cover next. Because there is a very long list and I'm very happy to keep going. If dark folklore and stories that don't quite let you go are your thing, subscribe, hit the bells and stay on the weird side of YouTube. And tonight, if you hear something crying near the water, don't be the one who goes to check.